Hey guys, welcome back to Made for Movies podcast. In this episode, we discuss Judas and the Black Messiah, our official Made for Movies review of the movie, as well as some upcoming projects for the actors who do such a fantastic job in that movie. We hope you enjoy it, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what would happen if your mobile phone killed you?
We are tonight's entertainment.
I would rather watch Beautician and the Beast.
People don't forget.
And we are back once again. Made for Movies. We were made for movies, weren't we?
I think we were. I don't know why else we were made. So
I don't know anyone else who'd watch Superbad over 200 times individually.
I wouldn't admit that out loud, but yeah.
Oh, did I just kind of reveal myself?
I thought you were talking about me.
World?
He was at that party with me, the one I was telling you about. No, is it? Remember? He's Jimmy's brother, the guy, the singer.
Sorry.
Oh no, I probably can't tell you how many movies I've watched with at least 100 times, including one we're going to talk about in a different episode. But we'll go from there. How you doing?
Do you keep a journal and write down the dates and times of when you watch them?
No, I let the Amazon Fire Stick team deal with that for me. They probably got a whole rap sheet. They're listening to my conversations. I got Alexas in every room anyway, but at the very least, they're gonna keep track of my movie watching for me. So I'll ask them. I'll ask Bezos.
Thanks, Bezos. Appreciate it.
Literally monopoly. Yeah, man. Let's talk about some movies. We got a pretty good one that came out on HBO Max, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes, we do. Very excited to talk about that. We're going to have our official review. Before we get into that, we're going to jump into some upcoming projects from some of the people in the movie. So Judas and the Black Messiah has an incredible up-and-coming cast. So many of these actors have so many projects that they've just been blowing up lately, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I can't believe some of the filmography of a couple of the actors, just like how good the movies were and how stellar they were in the role. And this movie turns out to be no exception. But starting with Daniel I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, Kaluuya.
Kahlua or Kaluuya?
What are you doing?
The luau.
Oh, yeah.
It's called the hula.
Luau.
No,
You doing a
hula.
luau?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Known
Close
mostly
enough.
for his role in Get Out, which is a scarier movie that I actually enjoy out of all the kind of thrillers and scary ones out there. Get Out's incredible. Black Panther, he's probably got a pretty good role in that. He plays a pretty pivotal character in this movie as well.
Yeah, he said I saw him in Queen and Slim as well. Really, really good movie. Well, the performances were perfect. The movie itself was pretty good, but yeah, like you said, Get Out's one of my favorite horror movies ever. And the first time I saw it, I thought he was good in it, but after repeat watching it, he gives a very, very kind of layered performance. He's really good at acting, like with his eyes. Just can convey so much emotion without saying a word, and we'll get into Judas in a little bit, but I thought that really carried over. It's just a very powerful performance. But yeah, he's got potentially not too much on the horizon for him. Hopefully, the rumors are that he will be in the next Jordan Peele movie, so we'll see about that. And then he has this other movie called The Upper World, which not too much about it yet. It's based off a book. He just signed on for it, but I'm sure after some Oscar buzz from Judas, he's going to be one of the hottest commodities in Hollywood for sure. Moving forward.
Yeah, I think Get Out really put him on the map. Like when he goes to the sunken place, his eyes. When you mentioned that's the first thing that popped into my head. Is just
it's that
the
meme.
wide-eyed scare look. Yeah, that became a meme and
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
has infinite meanings literally on Instagram right now. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. Another great standout performance by Lakeith Stanfield from also Get Out. He's the guy they get first, basically, in that movie. Sorry to Bother You, which is actually a pretty interesting movie. It's kind of weird, but it's entertaining. Yeah, and he's in Uncut Gems in a kind of smaller role, but pretty good there. But yeah, he's turning into one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, he's a very good character actor. Haven't seen him in too many like leading roles yet. He's always a really, really good supporting actor. But again, I think that his role in this kind of solidified him for me as like a guy that can lead a movie, any type of movie. I don't see too many things that he's not capable of doing with his range. Doesn't have too much coming up on the books anyway. He's got a movie coming out later this year. Looks like some kind of Western, which should be pretty cool, with Regina King and Idris Elba. So I highly doubt that's going to be bad.
Yeah, like we've been fooled before with The Little Things with Denzel and Jared Leto, but the top three actors on this movie, I can't wait to watch this. I don't care when and where. I'm gonna definitely check this one out. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and I will say, The Little Things, obviously all those actors are known to do their own bad movies, whereas, Idris Elba's done a couple of stinkers, obviously, but I really haven't seen this kid do too many bad things yet. So, and Regina King's on a roll as well, getting some Oscar buzz for her most recent movie, so should be really exciting. From there, I think the most exciting future for movies like coming out is going to be Jesse Plemons. He's got a billion things coming out. He's like
right,
the most sought after actor right now.
Jesse Plemons is known for his role in Breaking Bad. He's in Friday Night Lights. He's got a lot of minor roles, but
I call him Fat Matt Damon, aka Fat Damon.
Fat Damon.
Yeah,
that's perfect. He is literally the ugliest person possibly on earth. Like Sam Cassell can retire. Yeah, he's a heck of a performance on pretty much anything he does. He's always very good and very believable. But yeah, he does have a lot coming out. Looks like a lot of it's already in post production. Some of it's complete. What are some of the movies that he's going to be in?
So he's got a horror movie coming out called Antlers, and this was supposed to come out last year, was completed, was supposed to come out like last April, got pushed back. Looks okay, looks a little silly, but again, I would probably watch it just because he's in it. I'd like to see him in a horror movie role. I could definitely see him showing up in the next Jordan Peele movie, so this might be his audition for something like that. I could see him being like a leading role in that. He's got that Jungle Cruise movie with The Rock and Emily Blunt. That looks pretty good. I didn't remember seeing him in the trailer, so he might have a smaller role, but I'm sure he'll be really funny in that.
Is that Jumanji Part 4?
It is Jumanji Part 4.
Because The Rock's in it?
Yeah, The Rock is playing himself.
It's literally the funniest part about it is that his title description, Dwayne The Rock Johnson plays Frank.
That's it.
Just Frank, nothing else. That's it.
Which is
Emily
also
Blunt has a first and last name.
Frank,
but he's like Madonna.
Basically. The name of The Rock's penis too. So, if everyone doesn't know, The Rock has made it very apparent to everyone in the movie Hobbs and Shaw that he is very well endowed.
Big, brown, well endowed, tattooed mountain of a man.
Congratulations to the future president of the United States. But I think the movie I'm most looking forward to is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is an upcoming crime history movie from Scorsese, which is always very exciting, Martin Scorsese. It has Leo in it as well, and De Niro. So
it's like the cast just keeps getting better and better when they announce a new person.
Yeah, so the cool thing about this movie, too, is that originally Leo was meant to play the lead, and somewhere along the line, Scorsese just fell in love with Jesse Plemons. I don't know what role kind of turned him, but he actually flipped it. So Jesse Plemons is now the lead, and Leo is the supporting actor.
How many times has that happened to Leonardo DiCaprio? This has got to be
one time.
Number one. Yeah, like literally, that's crazy, and that just kind of shows you how Plemons' performances in all these shows and all these movies have just kind of really stood out. And even though he kind of seems to be the same person in every movie, the way he delivers, like in that one movie about playing board games with your friends, Game Night, he plays the next door neighbor cop who's just a weirdo.
He's the best part of the movie.
There's so many layers in that movie to him alone that it just makes you laugh even harder. So yeah, that's going to be exciting coming up pretty soon here.
Also, last cool thing about that movie, I'm pretty sure Leo plays. It's about one of the most notorious serial killers ever, and like how the FBI started. I'm pretty sure he's playing the serial killer. So we missed out on Leo as American Psycho. Which is funny, another role he kind of lost out on to Christian Bale. But to see him in, like, we've seen him kind of go crazy a couple times recently. I'm very excited. I hope it's very over the top and just like total insanity.
Anything but like a bunch of face tattoos and weird stuff like they did with our boy Jared, but that's another topic for another day. Should we get into Judas and the Black Messiah?
Let's do it. So this will be our
official review.
Made for movies Judas and the Black Messiah review. So going into this movie, what were your like expectations? Did you know what it was about?
Yeah, I actually I did a report in high school on the Black Panther Party. So I felt like when I was going to watch the movie, I was going to know a little bit about what happened. Unfortunately, my report, all we really did, I didn't get that good of a grade on it. We just showed that one scene from Forrest Gump where they meet the Black Panthers.
Right.
And we're like, yeah, this is what they were like. Okay, and done. My teacher was like, forehead slap immediately. Just like, get out of here, dude.
What grade did you get?
I got probably like in the 70s, because we had to make one of those like cardboard like boards that like swing open like a science project and put like different Black Panther stuff on there.
So what you're saying is, if your project was a movie, it would be The Little Things.
It was not a 0 out of 10 though. It was a 7 out of 10. So I'll stick with that. But
nice.
In doing so, I did study up on the Black Panther Party and had a little bit more than the average person's knowledge about that, who hadn't either lived through it or had been there.
Sure.
So I thought I knew what I was getting into when looking at this, but it unpeeled a lot more back for me. And movies like this, I tend to really just gravitate towards, because if they're based on true events, yeah, we may not be getting the full 100% true story, but we're going to get a good enough idea of what it was like back then and feel it. And it brings out a lot of emotion. I guess that's the best way to put it. But my expectations were it's probably going to be a pretty good film considering who's starring in it.
Sure.
And going from there. How about you?
Yeah, so funny enough, I knew very, very little, honestly, about the Black Panthers. Obviously, there was a movie that just came out recently, Trial of the Chicago 7, which actually touches on some of the events that happen in this movie, especially the main event, which we'll get into later. So I thought, like, oh, yeah, I know a little bit about it from there, but honestly didn't know too much going in. Was very excited, just, again, based off the cast. Weirdly enough, like, the director really he's only done one other movie, and it's like a comedy movie about like smoking weed. So
yeah, Shaka King.
Yeah,
he's known mostly for TV. He's done a few episodes of that show High Maintenance.
Yep.
He's done a couple a show with Adie Bryant from SNL called Shrill.
Okay.
That's actually fairly funny of a movie, of a TV show, but he's definitely not really known for much yet.
This is like
probably
his breakout.
set him up. Yeah.
So he wrote it as well. So just seeing that, like, typically I'm like, all right, don't know the director, don't know the writer. I don't know how great it'll be, but again, the cast definitely sticks out for sure, right? And as dumb as I may be, I didn't really understand what like the title meant, like just from before seeing it, and obviously after seeing it, it's like, oh, okay, well that makes a lot more sense. Which I kind of like that it's not, called like the Black Panthers or something that's like blatantly obvious. But like getting into the movie, general thoughts. How do you feel about it?
General thoughts. Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. It was entertaining as well as informative as to kind of painting the picture of a inner city during the civil rights movement as it continues. We're coming out of Malcolm X being killed, Martin Luther King being killed, into the late 60s, early 70s. Just a really rough time for America. Vietnam is ending. It's just a lot of tension. Like probably something we're similarly feeling a lot of now, based on what's happened in recent months with the election and everything like that. But you could feel the tense vibe that was kind of coming off during every scene. No matter what scene it was, it just seems to get that emotion going in you and keep your eyes kind of glued on it. So yeah, I really did like it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I thought it was amazing, mostly because of the acting and just the emotional impact it had on me. I thought as far as like a movie coming out during a certain time period, like you're saying, like this movie couldn't have come out at a better time.
Yeah.
It's like I think everyone should see it just because I feel like it's an important movie just to see like some things we've gotten better at and a lot of things we still haven't gotten better at. And this, parts of this movie like kind of make me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't believe other people can treat other people like this, but then you see on the news today it's still happening. So yeah, to your point, like if we don't look at our history, we never learn. And when you say everybody should watch this movie, yeah, certainly. I think it could open some eyes.
I will say minor gripes. I think if anything that lacks in this movie, it's the cinematography and the directing is not the best I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think he intentionally holds back on doing anything too fancy just to keep the attention on the actors, and I do think that helps to some extent. But at the same time, given the performances that we saw, I think that this movie was like on the verge of being a masterpiece if it was directed by the, let's say, because the guy that made Black Panther produced it. His name's slipping my mind right now, but let's say
Ryan Coogler,
right? So like someone like that, a little bit more experience. I think this movie could have been elevated to just classic status. But not saying he did a bad job. Again, I just think he was like a little bit under the bar of one of the best acted movies that I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
But other than that, like really no gripes about it. I thought the beginning was super informative. Like it opens with typically I'm not a huge fan of movies opening with like information, but it's super quick, super informative, and then we're kind of moving right along into the action of the movie. But as far as any standout scenes for you? What do you think of the opening scene in the? So from here on, we'll get into some spoilers.
Spoilers, guys.
So hopefully you've seen it. If not, definitely go watch it free on HBO Max. But yeah, so let's get into the opening scene at the bar.
Yeah, where I think what you said about the cinematography, it gets set off of how the movie is going to be shot in this first scene with basically I would say it's probably Shaka King holding a camera walking around with Lakeith Stanfield just kind of follows through his perspective how it goes. He walks into the bar. You don't know what to expect because you know it's about FBI informants and things like that getting into, after watching the trailer and seeing the opening little info there. But when it just gets so tense with this guy trying to walk into a bar and literally steal someone's car. That's how he's kind of figured out a way to make a living by pretending to be an FBI agent. So it's like just that right there, that situation. If that happened to you in a bar, you would be talking about that story for the rest of your life. And I guarantee you these guys were. It's just kind of like, man, could you believe what that guy tried to do or what he ended up actually doing? It's kind of nuts. So
yeah, I would say
I love the first scene. It was awesome.
I think it instantly hooked me because I didn't watch any trailers, so I thought he was an FBI agent.
Yeah, me too.
So I was like, this is kind of weird, but I was still into it. And then, once it's kind of revealed that he's not, and they're chasing after him, and they're like stabbing through the roof of the car. One, like you said, that scene actually is one of the better shot scenes in the movie because it just stays, on. So Lakeith Stanfield plays Bill O'Neill, so it stays on O'Neill's face like the whole time from his perspective. So you don't really see what's happening outside the car. You're just trying to like get out with him, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Get out.
Which is the first scene kind of did remind. I don't know why it just had like a Get Out vibe to me. But
the first scene of Get Out, for those who don't know, Lakeith Stanfield is walking through a neighborhood after a party or something, and he gets kidnapped in a car, literally choked out. So it's like similar thing is happening in this. It's just kind of like that action. You're like, what the heck is actually happening here? And then Bill O'Neill, and one of the cooler things about the movie is that they're showing an interview of his character that he gave, and it goes throughout the entire movie, little snippets here and there, but that's how it kind of sets up who this guy is. And then he's in an FBI office talking to Jesse Plemons after faking being an FBI agent, which
were some of my favorite scenes in the movie. Anytime him and Jesse Plemons interacted, I thought so. Jesse Plemons plays Rory Mitchell, FBI agent. To me, his performance was very subtle but very important, and he brings a lot to this role. In fact, somehow he makes it a sympathetic role for me.
Yes.
Like, I actually at one point felt bad for him. Later on when he's interacting with Martin Sheen, who plays J. Edgar Hoover.
J. Edgar
Amazing
Hoover.
job, by the way.
Oh, man. Just killed it.
Yeah, scene stealer. He's barely in the movie, but the scenes he is. Was he wearing prosthetics, or is that just?
I think it's like an extra makeup, like probably some kind of rubber nose or.
I thought it
some
was
hairdo done up in a certain way.
I thought it was Oswald Cobblepot
From the hit TV show Gotham. On,
Yes.
The WB.
Correct.
Does WB even exist anymore?
I don't
even
know.
Think about that.
Is that PBS Kids channel?
The Animaniacs is a good show, but that's a whole nother episode, if you ask me.
It's a whole nother series. But yeah, so just moving on, like Jesse Plemons again throughout the whole movie, every scene he's in, I think he steals. Just plays like a total piece of shit, but at the same time, like you, towards the end, can feel some remorse from his character for sure.
Yeah.
But then we get into obviously Daniel Kaluuya. I'm probably butchering his name just like you, but we get his introduction as Fred Hampton. First scene when he gives that speech. Again, he barely says anything for the first couple minutes. He's on screen. He's just sitting there, and he's kind of using his eyes to act. And immediately, I was just like, damn, this guy's like, get the Oscar ready sort of performance.
Yeah,
But,
he's basically like a generational talent, that once in a generation type of guy who comes out and just like, he's not the loudest in Hollywood. Like, you don't hear a lot about him outside of his roles. Like, his personal life is his personal life, and I really respect that, especially when he's probably getting the most attention of almost anyone in Hollywood right now, especially after playing Fred Hampton, who, getting into the history of it, kind of took over after several of the leadership in the Black Panthers were arrested or exiled, just like became that voice, became trying to produce as much equality as he could through a lot of nonviolent means, which was really incredible to see. Like, you hear the Black Panthers, you immediately think like just strapped up with all AK-47s and just like, doing a lot of violent things. But for the most part, they were a nonviolent civil organization, which is kind of the craziness to show why the FBI would even care about something like that. It just shows kind of like the systemic, terrible conditions and corruption that were going on during that time. And they keep going back to this. I think my favorite parts of the movie were when Martin Sheen as J. Edgar Hoover were literally gathering what looked like hundreds of FBI agents at one time in a huge amphitheater, and basically telling them like, and you see the whole crowd is all white FBI agents, males, and they're like, we got to get these guys out of here. They're gonna cause such a disruption. It's like, that was in the 1960s and 70s. It's like not that long ago that like this is happening, and like, if that was really what was happening at the FBI, which I'm sure they've confirmed it is, like, that's just crazy that they could target a specific group of people like that. And it was happening like right under everyone's noses without people really, getting it. It's crazy.
It kind of reminded me of not like Hitler, Nazi Germany when he was giving that speech. Like, I just watched Inglourious Bastards, and it was like very similar to like his mannerisms where he was he acted like he was not talking about other human beings. He seemed like he was talking about like animals, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, great performance. Very, very like unsettling when he was talking. But just back to Kaluuya, I think that he is the best part of this movie, and that's no knock on Lakeith or Jesse Plemons or anyone else in the movie. Also, Dominic Fishback, who plays Deborah Johnson, was also incredible in the movie.
Yeah.
And then
she's in that HBO show about New York in the 70s. I'm forgetting what the name is, but it's got Maggie Gyllenhaal and Franco is in it. For the life of me,
I try to stay away from Maggie Gyllenhaal stuff after Dark Knight, but
The Deuce, that's what it is.
The Deuce, right? Yeah.
The Deuce is which actually ran for 5 seasons. It was pretty good overall. It was a decent show, but again, like kind of historical, almost based on real events. You could assume that a lot of that stuff happened in the 70s. So she has a good performance too.
But yeah, so and then the majority of the movie kind of has that Departed vibe to it, where you have someone undercover, in the Black Panthers, trying to remain undercover. Obviously, there's a lot of close calls with him potentially getting murdered by these guys. Obviously, if they found out, I mean, he almost gets shot the one time in the car when the one girl's interrogating him, and those are, to me, probably the most intense scenes in the movie. And you really don't know what you're rooting for here, because you do kind of like all the characters at this point, but at the same time you can start to see where it's going to be heading. So it gets to that really the movie does a great job of kind of making all the characters somewhat sympathetic, but also kind of keeping it based in history, where you're like, all right, we kind of
you could kind of see where each character's coming from, which endears them to you a little bit. Like Lakeith is doing this to, get out of jail time. He's literally an informant for the FBI because he was impersonating an FBI officer. It's that simple. But in those situations, and if it's something you possibly believe in, he starts to kind of get. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, In Too Deep. I don't know if you've seen that with Omar Epps and LL Cool J.
Yeah.
But in a similar situation, Omar goes undercover and gets in too deep with LL, and then he has conflicts about whether or not he should, provide information or try to shut him down or whatever. And you can see that start to happen here with Jesse Plemons coming in and just making it impossible for Lakeith to keep it up in the way that he wants. He really needs to get some results. So that tension is there throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. A couple more standout scenes to go through here. The shootout scene. So this to me, one of the better scenes. Again, this is one where I think a director with a little more skill could have made this pop a little bit more, but it's still a good scene. And this is really the first scene where, like, you really don't like Lakeith Stanfield's character anymore. Like, he's I keep saying character. These are real people, by the way.
Yeah.
Bill O'Neill. But, when he just leaves them to die, basically, and walks out of the house and, like, doesn't turn back, like, for the first time, you can kind of see that he's pretty much beyond saving at this point. But really powerful scene. Again, all performances across the board, just constantly delivering. So sad to see this thing go down, with the shootout, and the cops are just unloading on 2 people. There's, like, 60 cops.
Yep.
Any thoughts?
Then they firebomb the building afterwards and literally burn down like their headquarters in Chicago. It's like, how do you write that police report? And it's easy when you're corrupt that report just gets written in a way that is beneficial to the police and not to those who are getting shot at, literally, and their entire building getting burned down. I feel the same way, just like the power in that, and that's really the climax of the first climax of the movie anyway, as far as just understanding like what the Black Panthers or even just one city's organization of the Black Panthers was going through in that time, and just the way that the cops so easily were able to go to violence is just a crazy thing. And you can feel that.
Also, Fred Hampton was in jail at the time of that shootout. So when he obviously gets out, he gets back to, spreading the good word. And then, the FBI decides that, they don't want him in jail anymore, even though they can easily put him back in jail and keep him there for however long they want to keep him there. But J. Edgar Hoover, Martin Sheen's character, more or less decides, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is with J. Edgar Hoover and Jesse Plemons' character, where Jesse Plemons' character is asking questions like, what are we about to do here, sort of thing.
Yeah, why are we not just arresting him? Are you alluding to something else, sir? And yes, it's J. Edgar Hoover saying basically, let's go assassinate this guy because
no one says
he's too much of a threat.
No one says it out loud.
In so many words, right?
Exactly. And Jesse Plemons clearly conveys that he does not want to do this, but again, he has like 2 personalities, like a mask, basically. He puts his mask on, goes and has dinner with, Lakeith Stanfield's character, and from there, it kind of leads into the finale of the movie. Powerful scene before the finale with Fred Hampton.
Hard to watch.
It's very hard to watch with when Bill O'Neill is saying goodbye to Fred Hampton. He basically has to drug him with his drink, and man, Lakeith Stanfield, if he ends up winning an Oscar for a supporting role, it's going to be off that one scene that really just seals the deal, man. It's hard. It's literally hard to watch is the best way I can describe it. But just
that was the most surprised I was during the movie, was that he actually went through with it. I didn't know the history, so I was anticipating like, hey, what actually happened? The fact that he did poison him, and then as he's walking away, literally crying, it's like it kind of shows you that fine line that he's walking the whole movie.
Yeah.
But between getting paid a lot of money to be an informant, so that he comes in with all new hotshot clothes and he's able to buy a car and all this stuff, like that's the one side of it, and then the other side is like literally betraying what he's starting to believe in, in that organization. It's
and
like they just come in and they just blast everybody. It's uncomfortable to watch that scene because it's just literally police murdering people.
Yeah.
And
like before
a whole room full of people too.
Before we get to that scene too, the part that really stands out to me is Fred Hampton is, telling all the other Black Panthers that he's gonna go to jail. Like, he accepts it. He's not gonna fight it. He's gonna do his time, and he's not gonna let them win. Right.
Right.
And that's like the last thing we really see him say is like he's being so peaceful about it. And yeah, like you said, man, not many movie scenes have made me like totally emotionally just. I was like crying throughout that whole scene. It's like it's hard to watch for sure. Just the police brutality, like you said, they just go in with no remorse. No one has any weapons or is trying to do anything. They're all just in defensive positions, just getting executed, basically.
Yeah.
I was really hopeful that his wife, and I didn't know the background of it, that his wife and kid weren't going to be murdered during it, which luckily they were not, which is amazing. But yeah, just the final execution of him is like one of the most disturbing things. But I'm glad they put it in, and didn't like sugarcoat this at all.
Yeah.
I think it really elevated the movie for me. The last 10 minutes, it took it from a great movie to a movie that like I think I'll never forget.
It's up there. It's up there with some of the best, and I think like they pulled off what they were going for, which was to kind of show like that was a gangland style execution perpetrated by people who are supposed to protect us against gangs, and who they thought were a gang was the Black Panthers. It's just like that's not exactly what they were doing. He was peaceably protesting the whole time. Fred Hampton never carried a gun. It's kind of a crazy thing. Why didn't he want to protect himself? Like, that's just kind of showing you the way that they were trying to bring about change. So yeah, that it's hard to watch. Then you find out some stuff in the end that's really like, oh wow, okay. So like for Bill O'Neill, I don't know if you want to talk about that part.
Yeah,
like
so no, I think that's
his
good.
resolution.
So I think one thing, it's a pretty cliche at this point, right, is based on a true story movies always, and it's one of my favorite parts, right, where they basically let you know where a lot of these characters ended up. So to start off, his wife did actually, have his son, and now his son is, I believe,
Fred Hampton Jr. He's actually the president of the current chapter of one of the civil organizations that tries to help bring about change, because we're still talking about this stuff now.
That's
he's
amazing.
Still doing it now. Yeah, it is. It's really amazing.
That definitely ends it.
He never knew his dad, but he knew about him enough to go through.
I thought that was like one of the more positive ways to end it, for sure. And then obviously what was really cool, like you said earlier, they were doing these interviews with Lakeith Stanfield throughout, and we really didn't understand what these interviews were. It was for some TV documentary show, but it actually switches to the real Bill O'Neill. So obviously what Lakeith Stanfield was doing, he was literally doing an impression of a real interview, and it's pretty sad to watch, right? So he does this interview, they ask him about it, and if he has regrets and stuff. Doesn't have much to say on it, and then I believe they said like that night or the next day he took his own life.
It was an interview in 1981, and the day after it was released on air, he killed himself because he's kind of probably watched it and saw everything that he had spoke about, brought back a lot of stuff that he had not talked about for a long time, clearly, if that was the first time he'd spoke about it. And he just couldn't take it, and the movie kind of shows that that's the path he was headed down anyway. So the resolutions are there. I can't remember what they said about Roy Mitchell, who's played by Jesse Plemons, but the movie ends well in that it's informative enough to kind of wrap things up for you, at least as far as what you've seen anyway.
For sure. So final thoughts. What are you going to do for score? So again, on here we rate movies out of 10. 10 is a classic masterpiece, Hall of Fame type movie. 01 is, a movie that upsets Wolf for months on end after. Just to give you an idea, like a 6 is a decent movie. Anything above a 6, 7's good, 8 great, 9 amazing. Wolf, what are you going to give this movie?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Because it's based on true events, it's a little easier to write for those movies. That's why I don't give it a 10 out of 10 necessarily, because some of the stuff they could actually none of it's actually like come from a place of nowhere. But well acted, great intensity. You feel the emotions. Like, I don't give many movies a 9, and to give that one it's due. I would say that's a very fair number.
Awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm at a 9 out of 10 as well. So our, based off my math, if I take a 9 and a 9, our official made for movie score will be a 9 out of 10 for this movie. Again, I think some minor issues with the directing and the way it was shot could have made it a masterpiece, but there's nothing wrong with being a 9 out of 10. This is one of the best movies I've seen in the last couple years, no question about it.
Especially after some of the stuff we've seen either recently or over the last couple of years. Like, this one definitely is a standout movie. Should see a lot of buzz on Oscar night. We'll find out, and I really hope it does. Win a lot of stuff, because I haven't seen any other movies that have brought up this emotion. As far as
for sure,
just checking everything out.
I think too, like, I'm not a huge what movie wins the Oscar is the best, but when I do like a movie and the people in it, I know that that's an important achievement for them. So I'm very hopeful to see one of these actors, that someone wins something for this movie, just to kind of have that hard work pay off. But overall, like, no complaints. Definitely go see this again. If you want to watch it, it's free on HBO Max for the next month or so, and then from there, it'll be available to rent as well.
Yep. Definitely worth it to rent it. I think part of our reviewing, which you guys can catch on our website, madeformovies.com, this is a good one to watch and rent, even if it costs some money to rent it, because it's worth it to see it. So
for sure,
if it comes out in theaters, that's another good one to go see. But yeah, that's a good movie. I think that wraps it up. Got anything else?
Just a wonderful goodbye for you.
Oh, well, that's nice. Well,
bye.
Yeah, bye, everybody, and thanks for listening. We'll be back another week with Made for Movies podcast. See you guys. Thank you guys for listening to the Made for Movies podcast. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to send us your thoughts and opinions on these movies that we've discussed, your rankings, any movies you want to see, any movies you'd like us to review. Please shoot us a note. You can find our info on our website, which is madeformovies.com, our Instagram, which is Made for Movies Podcast. And we really hope you liked it, guys. Have a great day. See ya.